Hi, I'm Walker&Williams and welcome to yet another video. This one though is slightly different. If you've seen any of my other videos and you're familiar with our channel, you'll know that I'm a property guy. Our group of companies usually buys, renovates and sells or keeps property, either renting it out as house shares, young working professional house shares, or as our 5-star hotel chain. However, this video is a little bit different. I don't own any stocks and shares, I'm not a trader, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, so please don't treat it as such. It's just my opinion, and it's something that I think you should know because it's an opportunity potentially to make you and your family very wealthy. It's important to know I'm not trying to sell you anything, I'm not trying to train you on anything, I'm not trying to sell a course or any of that nonsense. I literally just want to give you guys the opportunity. I think this is going to be massive and I just want you to know about it too. And then you go away, do your own due diligence, do your own research, try and disprove what I'm saying. And if you can't and you agree with me, then I strongly suggest you get into HBAR, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. And I'm also going to, right at the end, I'm going to very quickly show you how to do it, because I was drunk on the sofa a long time ago and I was on the computer and I'd heard a lot, I read a lot and I'd read a lot about this new technology, Bitcoin. And when I was trying to buy it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick 200 quid in it. I'd had a couple of bottles of red wine, as I say, Laura gone to bed, drunk on the couch, watching a film, and decided I always buy stupid stuff when I'm drunk. And I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. So I tried for about 2.5 hours to buy Bitcoin. And I'll never forget, it was at 57p a coin. And as of late, it's been 30,000 quid a coin. Now, I never bought it because after 2 hours of trying to work out how to buy it, I gave up. It was just impossible. It's for geeks. You got to buy a wallet. I couldn't get the wallet. And then I didn't understand about the addresses and things. So if you watch this video all the way through and you think, actually, yeah, no, I agree with this, it's worth a punt, or, you know, whatever you decide, I'm going to put loads into it, I'm going to put a little bit into it, whatever you decide, it's all very well and good knowing that. But I know from personal experience, it can be very, very frustrating knowing, you know, sort of the winning lottery numbers, if you like, and not being able to buy a ticket, or in this case, not knowing how to buy the cryptocurrency and how to safely store it in your wallet. So at the very end of the video, I will show you the cheapest way I've found to buy HBAR by Hedera Hashgraph and how to store it in a wallet. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, all I ask in return for making you millions and millions of pounds, potentially, is to give it a like. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will personally come back and answer any questions I can for you. Okay, so HBAR. At the moment there's about 300 proper, they call them serious proper cryptocurrencies. There's actually about 3,000 altogether, but that you can buy and trade in and have some sort of value. Some of them are 1/100th of a pence a coin in value, and then Bitcoin's at the other end of the scale at around £30,000 a coin. But there's around 300 coins. Now, speculators will say, oh, buy Ripple or buy Bitcoin or buy this or buy that or buy, but there's actually no difference. They're all the same. They're all blockchain technology. So if you can imagine, if you're wondering what blockchain is, this is basically a blockchain. So blockchain technology, inside these blocks, these are 3D blocks like that, you see, inside these blocks, information, transactions. So it could be that I submitted my university paper into the thing and pressed the electric button which timestamped it, and I did that at this time on this date. That packet of information goes in there as ones and zeros binary, so it's just think of it as like a piece of code in the block. Okay, and then another block might be I bought a slice of pizza, I paid with Bitcoin, and I've got no personal beef with Bitcoin. They're all the same, but we've all heard of Bitcoin, so I'll keep saying Bitcoin, but the same applies to any of these blockchain technology cryptocurrencies. So I buy a pizza and so I've paid this much to this person at this time for this transaction. That's a piece of information. So that piece of information sits in the block. And then once it's full, it's a full block and it goes on once it's been checked and all the other ledgers, all the other computers agree that that's correct and that all happened and it happened in that order. It goes onto the blockchain and then another one's formed. And then this one's filled with information. And that's why it's called blockchain. So they're all blockchain. So this is, I'm describing all 300 of them, give or take, all 300 of them. Bitcoin, you know, Bitcoin Cash, all that stuff, Ripple, all the other ones, they're all the same thing, blockchain technology. However, HBAR is not just another blockchain technology that I think is going to take off because my mate's dog told me or whatever. It's actually a completely new technology. Right, okay, so first things first, what's my beef with blockchain? Why do I have any issue with blockchain? And also, the same question is, We all know, everyone, your grand's heard of Bitcoin. Everyone in the world's heard of Bitcoin. We all get that it's more secure, and we all understand that it's not controlled by governments or banks, so they can't fiddle with it or whatever. So why isn't it being taken up? Why can't I spend Bitcoin at the hotel? Why can't I check in and pay 89 quid or 3 Bitcoin or whatever? Well, the reason it's not being taken up is because of the problems that are inherent in all of the blockchain technologies. So let me explain. There are 3 main problems with the blockchain. Right, number 1, speed, okay, speed. At the moment, we have to, Bitcoin and all the other blockchains, because of this process, they have to slow it down to make sure that there are no mistakes, to make sure that everybody, it's called a consensus, to make sure that every computer in the world agrees that I bid on a house in an auction and I won it and I paid for it and the other person got the money and that transaction completed, to make sure that neat piece of information isn't contradicted by anything, i.e. somebody else actually paid for it first and therefore it's theirs and not mine, so that there's no, they call them forks, so there's no disagreements, no forks in the blockchain. They have to slow it down to make sure that, to give everyone else, every other computer a chance to say, yeah, I agree, yeah, I agree, yeah, I agree, yeah, I agree. Does everyone agree? Yeah, everyone agrees. Brilliant. Okay, that's done. Tick, next. It's actually, believe it or not, and this will be scary if you own a lot of Bitcoin or any other blockchain, it's actually not 1,000,000% certain ever. So it's like 9.99999% certain. And you might say, well, big deal, that's big enough. But if you imagine, if the whole world was using Bitcoin, that's 100 million transactions a day. Well, if there's a 1 in 100 million goes wrong, that means that 1 transaction a day is going wrong. So somebody loses out on a house and loses £1,000,000 or whatever. So that's another problem, but that's a problem. The main problems are speed, number 1. Right now, it takes between 10 minutes to 60 minutes to confirm a Bitcoin transaction. So imagine now you've got a magic wand and you say tomorrow, the whole world, in every country, everyone on the planet is now going to use Bitcoin. And we say, okay, that's great. So we go into a shop, I want to buy a Mars bar. I go to pay the guy in the shop for my Mars bar, and it takes between 10 and 60 minutes for the man behind the counter to confirm that he's got my money. So at the moment, I go in with my debit card, I contactless, I touch it, 3 seconds later, it does that waiting, then it says payment accepted, payment confirmed. It takes between 1 and 5 seconds. With Bitcoin, that would take between 10 and 60 minutes. Are you telling me there's ever going to be a time on earth at any point in the future where you're going to be happy to wait in your local corner shop, your local Tesco's, whatever, and wait between 10 and 60 minutes for confirmation of payment on your big shop, or for a Mars bar, or for a car, or for anything else? You're going to wait 60 minutes for confirmation of payment. You're not. So, number 1, big problem. Right. Number 2, cost of transaction. So, to cost the transaction, the average Bitcoin transaction costs $2. It's all done in dollars because it's the world currency, but it's about $2, give or take. So, and there are loads of reasons for that. The main one being that because they have to slow it down to confirm that all the payments are right, it takes a lot of power and a lot of infrastructure. So they charge $2 on average per transaction. So it's really expensive because, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot cheaper than the banks, and that's why one of the other things that Bitcoin sort of took off was that you could send money seamlessly without a middleman to your friend in Africa, and it'd cost you $2 instead of $35, and then it takes 3 days. Instead, it takes 60 minutes and only costs $2. So compared to fiat currency and the banks and everything, it's wicked. And before HBAR, it was the best thing we had, and everybody went nuts and piled into it, and the value went really high. However, $2 transaction fee. And then number 3 is electricity consumption. We're all hypersensitive now, and rightly so, about global warming and the environment, and rightly so. How much electricity, so you've waved your magic wand and the whole world tomorrow is using Bitcoin instead of all the other currencies, they just use Bitcoin. How much electricity do you think the computers that need to do all the checks, mining, how much electricity, extra consumption on the planet do you think that would take? It's 2 times the current world's consumption of the planet. So electric times 2 world consumption. That's mind-blowing. So if we all agree now that we're going to go with Bitcoin, the whole world's going to go with, or not necessarily Bitcoin, Ripple, whatever, one of the blockchain technologies, we're all going to go for it. Are we all happy to double the current world's consumption of electric? Okay, so these are the three main problems. Speed, it's very, very slow. Not compared to the old system, but compared to what I'm about to talk about, it's very, very slow, 10 to 60 minutes for a transaction, so it's not practical. Number two, it's quite expensive. It'd be harsh to pay $2 to transact to buy a 60p Mars bar. And number three, we'd have to double the world's electricity consumption. Okay, so these are the issues with blockchain. HBAR is not blockchain technology. It's not that. It's called a Hedera Hashgraph. Now, it's mental super complicated, but basically, it looks like this. This is the kind of the way you draw it if you were talking about it. Well, I am talking about it, but you know what I mean. You draw it as a sort of a symbol. So this is the Hedera Hashgraph, this is blockchain. HBAR is not blockchain. It's a completely new thing. And basically, rather than, the way I understand it is, rather than saying, this has happened, do you agree? 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 And taking your time going around the world, do you agree? Do you? And yes, 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 yes. Rather than that, this is, everybody knows what everybody knows. It's called gossip protocol. So, for example, I know, so I've seen a transaction and I tell Billy about it. But when I tell Billy, I also put in that time, I put the time I told him and who else I know knows. Then Billy tells me that he knows and what time he found out from me, and that he knows that I know what time it happened. I then tell Bob, Billy tells Bob, Bob tells Steve. It's called gossip protocol, and it means that rather than going in a line slow blockchain, it goes back and forth on a hash graph. So I now know that Billy knows, that Bob knows, that Steve knows, that Billy knows. And I also know what time that Billy found out, that Bob knows, that Steve knows, and so on and so forth. So it's really easy to get caught down that rabbit hole of doing that. So it's a hash graph, okay? There are loads of videos here on YouTube. If you want to learn more about this, have a look at them. Just Google, just YouTube search HBAR. There's loads of videos. In fact, there's a couple of really good ones, and I'll put the links in the description below for them if you want to, watch an hour-long video on exactly the difference between Hedera Hashgraph and blockchain. That's not the point. These are the main points. Number one, speed. The average HBAR transaction takes between 1 and 3 seconds. Because there's no mining, you can't mine for HBAR because you don't need to slow the system down because it's so quick. There's no chance of billionaires being able to do poor people out of money and stuff. There's none of that because there's no mining. It just doesn't happen. We don't need it because of the speed. When you go in the shop to buy a Mars bar, it takes between 1 and 3 seconds. By the way, Bitcoin, and it's one of the better ones, Bitcoin can process up to 8 transactions per second. So you might say, well, I go into my local shop and there's only ever 3 people in there, so what's the problem? They can do 8 transactions a second, that's load. But think about Tesco's online. How many transactions, how many people are checking out at the checkouts on Tesco's online at any moment, on Easter Sunday, for example, and they're going nuts or whatever. They're doing 100,000 transactions a day. They ain't doing that at 8 transactions a second. If you're interested, Visa, your debit card has got Visa written on it. Visa can process this is all roughly 8,000 per second. HBAR, they're still doing the trials now, and it takes time to make sure that when they say something, they know it's 100% true. At the moment, they've got it up to 13,000 transactions per second. So it takes 1 to 3 seconds. When you go into a shop and you pay for something, it takes between 1 second and 3 seconds for them to go, yep, got the money. You can have your Mars bar. Bitcoin's 10 to 60 minutes, and all the others. Bitcoin can process up to 8 transactions a second per terminal, per shop, or whatever, per terminal. Visa can do 8,000 per second per terminal. HBAR can do 13,000. That's plus 13,000 plus, because that's all they've tried it up to. 13,000 transactions per second. Takes 1 to 3 seconds to confirm. Cost. The average HBAR transaction would cost you 1/10 of a pence. That's a cent. 1/10 of a cent. So it's, I don't know what's that as a percentage, 1, 2, 3, what is it, 4,000% cheaper, 400% cheaper than it, but it's cheap. It's as cheap as makes no difference. Who cares, right? You buy miles, but it costs you a tenth of a pence to transact that, or sending money all over the world or whatever. Much quicker, many more transactions. Now, this is the big one for me. How much electricity, if we have our magic wand again now, we wave our magic wand and we say, right, all the world, the whole world tomorrow, we've all voted and we all agree that, and this could happen, by the way, because there's a lot of talk about the US dollar no longer being the world standard, but that's a whole nother video. The whole world, so you got your magic wand, you wave your wand, and tomorrow everyone in the world is using HBAR. How much electricity do you think we would consume in order to make that happen? Bearing in mind that Bitcoin would take double all of the world's consumption just to run the computers to be able to support that system. HBAR is double the consumption of Las Vegas. So instead of having one Las Vegas, we have two Las Vegas, and that's all the money in the world. So that's the difference. Double the whole planet's electricity consumption, or double the electricity consumption that they use in Las Vegas every year. So that kind of gives you an idea of how far ahead this technology is. And I like to think of it as blockchain is, so before we had blockchain, the old banking system with fiat money and paying 35 quid backs to transfer some money to somebody in another country, and it took 3 days and you had to pay 35 quid and it's crap. This system is like walking. Sorry, the banks is like walking to work on your feet. Blockchain was like riding a horse. Million times better, revolutionary for man. We can plow fields now, we don't have to do it ourselves. We can horses to pull trees over and carts and all that sort of stuff. It's light years ahead. And this is a Lamborghini. So it's the invention of the motor car. It genuinely is, and at the moment it's trading cheap. So it's genuinely, Hedera Hashgraph in my mind is a car is compared to a horse. And there are people at the moment right now going, the car will never take off. They run out of fuel all the time. You know, you've got nowhere to store them, and all the stuff that people said when Henry Ford invented or started to mass produce the motor car. And if you don't believe me, have a look on YouTube about there's famous people who poo-pooed the motor car, saying it was a fad and it wouldn't go anywhere. They also said the same thing about TV, and Lord Alan Sugar said it about the iPod as well. He said it wouldn't go anywhere. Anyway, people are saying that about this. They're saying, oh yeah, blockchain's the future. No one's got time for this fancy stuff. But believe me, when the wider public start hearing about this, what would you do? If you've got money in this and you know about this, what do you think the future holds for blockchain technology? What purpose has it got? And it's not like silver or gold that's got an inherent value, because you can make bracelets out of it and it looks nice, or property, you can sleep in it. You know, food has got an inherent value because you can eat it. A house, you can sleep in it. It's got intrinsic value. You can use it. It's useful. If you're not spending Bitcoin, what other uses it got? Can you eat it? No. Can I sleep under it? No. Can I wear it around my neck and look pretty? No. It's got absolutely no intrinsic value whatsoever. The only value it has at the moment is people's belief that one day it will be the currency of the world, and speculation. I believe if I buy Bitcoin for today for 30,000 quid, I believe you're going to buy it tomorrow for 35,000 quid. Now, if I told you that was true, you're going to buy it for 30,000 quid because you know you can sell it for 35. So the only reason it's got any value is because people think they can sell it to somebody else for more money in the future. And that's called the bigger fool fallacy. It has no intrinsic value. And by the way, neither does this. HBAR's got no intrinsic value. Again, you can't eat it, you can't see it, but it's future-proof. I mean, look at the difference between them. Okay, so I hope I've sold you on that, and I hope you, or at the very least, I hope you look into it yourself, have a look and find out what you think. Now, one more thing about HBAR that you need to know about. Bitcoin and all the others, Ripple, you know, I don't want to bully Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't have, it's open source, so there's nobody in charge, it's just a free-for-all, okay? Which is one of the selling points, that no one can, if no one's in charge, then there's no one to benefit or manipulate it, okay? Even though we kind of know that's not true with the billionaires. With Hedera Hashgraph, it's not open source at the moment. So what that means is the chap who invented this, he's actually patented the technology, which means there's ever only going to be one. So whereas you and I can get some money together, thinking of a really cool label and a brand, and just like a bottle of water or anything else, we can bring a new cryptocurrency to the market and try and sell it and stuff. And we could do that. It's not a problem. You know, genuinely, anyone can start a cryptocurrency, and lots of people have. No one can do this. It's patented worldwide. Now, The other thing is, all of the others have a few guys who invented it. Like you and I now, we're going to invent a new cryptocurrency, we're going to sell it, and we're going to a lot of cool advertising and stuff, and we're going to get people behind it. People buy into it because they think it's going to go up in value, and so on. This is actually being used for other things. So, for a start, they've got a board. So they've got a CEO. It's more like a normal company structure, like Apple or Microsoft. They've got a board of directors, a CEO, and so on and so forth. They have structure. Now, they also have, so that it's open source, and if one of these guys gets corrupted or loses the plot or whatever, they have to go to another board of companies. No, can't spell. Companies. These are people. So this is the chap who invented it, his wife, whatever, a scientist and all that sort of stuff. Let's say this guy says, right, okay, I've had an idea, I want to do whatever. They have to take it to the board of companies, and each of the companies has 2.5% voting right. Okay, so no one company has enough vote to a thing. They're invited by Hedera Hashgraph to be on the board, and they don't have to be. They get nothing for doing it, except that they get to vote and make decisions that they think are in the interest for Hedera Hashgraph and the community who own HBAR. Guess who these companies are? Google, might have heard of them. Boeing, might have heard of them. LG, there's a German telecom company that owns everything. Like I think they own Centrica, which is O2. It's called German Telecom or something. Google, Boeing, LG. There are some others. There's about 20. I think there's just less than 20 of them at the moment that they've been voted. Oh, the London College of Economics, London College of the LCE, the London College of Economics. They're one of the members of the board. LG, Boeing. There's loads of other big companies. So massive, massive, massive companies. Now, before these companies agreed to be this board, do you think they did any due diligence about this to make sure it's not a Ponzi or a scam or some sort of trick or whatever? I'm pretty sure they will have. So I've done my due diligence on HBAR, on Hedera Hashgraph, and by due diligence I mean I've looked into it, watched loads of videos, interviews, looked at the history of the people on the board and learned about them, see where they've been, where else have they worked, how old are they, and that sort of thing. And if he was 15 years old and was coming out of his mum's basement, that'd be slightly different than if he's been running the Ministry of Defence for 20 years. So I did my due diligence, but before Google agreed to be on the board and put their good name and their reputation with this, they've done their own due diligence. Well, I'm pretty sure that Google, Boeing, LG, the London College of Economics, and all these other massive organisations and charities, I'm pretty sure they've done their due diligence and said, you know what, this isn't a scam, it's not a Ponzi, we believe in this technology. Now, so this is a massive, and no, by the way, no other crypto has this this structure and these heavyweights behind it. So I already know that I want to be backing something that the likes of Google are backing. So that's another good thing to know about HBAR. Now, last thing about HBAR is that Hedera Hashgraph is the technology. So it's like saying Bitcoin and blockchain. HBAR and Hedera Hashgraph. Hedera Hashgraph is the name of the company, the business if you like, and they don't just do currency. They do all sorts of things. So for example, they've just, this morning it was announced that the NHS are using Hedera Hashgraph to do track and trace with vaccine. So when you've had the vaccine, rather than sending Max, Bill, bought something for £5, it's Max, NHS, vaccine. Max has had his vaccine, and that's time-stamped and has all the same security that the money transactions do. So there's quite a few big, I can't remember their name, but there's a company in Australia, a debit card company, and they have just started trialling, they're the biggest debit card company in Australia, and they've just started trialling using Hedera Hashgraph for their payment confirmation transactions. There are companies that are building apps using the Hedera Hashgraph. So why would they do that? Because it's so much cheaper, because they use such less electricity themselves. So when you're building an app and you're then putting the app out there, that's got to run on a server. Well, do you want to run it on a server that's costing you £1,000 a week in electric, or do you want it to run on a server that's 3 times quicker and cost you £100 a week in electric? So this technology has got intrinsic value. That's the point I'm trying to get across. You can't eat it, you can't sleep under it, but it's actually useful. It's not just a way of paying money or speculating on a currency like they are with all the others. This actually has a use every day. And you might have actually used something running on Hedera Hashgraph and not even known it. Okay, last point now, we're getting to the juicy bit. Now, these, depends when you're watching this, have a look at the date of the video so you know where you're up to, or you can check yourself. How do you make any money from this? Max, you said millionaires, some, you know, all that stuff. So how do we make any money from it? Okay, fair point. HBAR today equals, what is it today, Rich? 6p a coin? 7p. It's 7p per coin. Get your head around that. After everything I've just told you, Bitcoin I think it's at about £26,000 per coin today. So after everything I've just told you, and Bitcoin is none of the stuff and costs so much and slow and expensive and electric and all that stuff, Bitcoin's currently around 26,000 quid a coin and HBAR's currently 7p a coin. I bought 500,000 HBAR coins, just so you know, I've got my money where my mouth is. I bought 500,000, 500,000 Bitcoin HBAR coins last year for 2.6p. They're now currently at 7p, so I'm very close to tripling my money in a year. And I do believe genuinely that this could go, HBAR could go to £1. It could go to £26,000. So you have some fun with your calculator and work out how many you could buy for 7p, and then what each of one of those will be worth if it goes to £1, if it goes to £1,000. I did work it out that if it went to Bitcoin, then I'm worth about 3 trillion or something mental. So I honestly think, now don't get me wrong, please don't misunderstand. This is why this is not financial advice and nothing is certain. Tomorrow, HBAR could be hacked by some guy who's cleverer than anybody else. He's hacked it and it actually doesn't work and the whole thing collapses. Google's embarrassed, everyone apologizes, and we all move on with our lives. That could happen. It's not impossible. That could happen. So, and that would mean this goes to zero. But it's unlikely, but could happen, but it's unlikely. But it could also go to 26,000 quid. So, you know, don't bet your house on it, but I think it's certainly worth you having a little look and doing some due diligence. I'm going to do a quick recap now on the board. Just going to do the main points for you. You don't have to sit there and watch while I draw this out. So I'm going to draw this out and you're going to see it now. Here's one I made earlier in 3, 2, 1. Da-da. Okay, so just to recap, blockchain versus HBAR. It should really say blockchain versus Hedera Hashgraph, but just because we're talking about the crypto. Slow, 8 transactions roughly, 10 to 60 minutes to confirm each transaction. Expensive. It's actually $2.99 per transaction is actually the average cost, but for continuity, let's call it $2. Consumption, double the world's electric consumption. HBAR, fast, 13,000 plus transactions per second. 1 to 3 seconds to confirm, to buy your Mars bar. Cheap, 0.0001 cents per transaction, average cost. Consumption, double Las Vegas consumption, which isn't much relatively. Backed by the biggest companies in the world, and I've underlined that. Now, okay, so that's the main points. Forget all the other stuff. You don't really need to know how blockchain works and the Byzantine problem and all that other stuff. Forget all that. If you know, unless you want to learn about that, then go for it. But just for this, forget all that stuff. Remember these points. If you're gonna, you know, if you're thinking of dabbling in cryptocurrency, remember these points. Don't ever buy more than you can afford to lose, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Now, if you want to buy it, I'm back now, I'm drunk, I'm on the couch, I'm trying to buy Bitcoin, and I lost out. If you're wondering, it was is either 18 million or 28 million pounds. That's what my Bitcoin would have been worth today, but I couldn't work out how to buy it, and I was too lazy to try after 2 hours. I gave up. If you've got an iPhone, download Atomic Wallet. It's completely free. Nothing to do with me, by the way. Oh, he must own Atomic Wallet. No. It's a massive American company. Atomic Wallet, that's the best. For me, I've tried a few and I really like that one. Ledger's great, but Ledger doesn't yet. It's really, really tricky to get HBAR onto, it's not impossible, but it's really hard to get HBAR onto Ledger. So for now, it's free. If you've got an Apple iPhone, go onto the App Store, type in Atomic Wallet, comes up straight away. I don't know, I guess you've got the others for Android and stuff. Atomic Wallet. Once you've downloaded your Atomic Wallet, go to moonpay.com. Do it on a computer, it's easier, or a laptop if you can, an iPad, do something bigger, it's just easier. If you're buying under 35 quid's worth, you don't even have to show any ID. If you're buying more than 35 quid's worth, then you've got to take a photo of your driving license with your device, with the webcam or whatever. You upload it and then you're done. It's easy, it takes minutes. So create an account at moonpay.com, and this account is where you buy stuff. You can buy Bitcoin, you can buy any of the cryptos there, and you can buy HBAR. There's a drop-down menu, dead easy. It says which one do you want to buy. You click it, go down the list, and it says HBAR. Once you've clicked HBAR, you fill in the next bit, which is how much do you want to buy in pounds. You can either say I want to buy 10,000 HBARs, and it tells you the price, or you can just say how much you want to spend. I want to spend 200 quid, and it says, right, it works it out for you and says this is how many HBAR you're going to get. You then enter your card details. You can't pay by PayPal yet, which is a shame because it's convenient, but you just put in your card details, and then it says, where do you want us to send it to? Go back to your Atomic Wallet, click on Hedera Hashgraph in the list of all the different cryptos, and you click on that, and in there, it will say your address. You copy that, you paste it into MoonPay. It says, are you sure? Double check, click pay, and it sends money. A couple of minutes, an hour tops. If it's a new account, it's the first time we've ever done it, it's a little bit slower because they do some security checks. Once you've bought it once, it streams through. Quick tip, if you somehow manage to put the wrong address in and you click buy now, it will send it. Because it's so secure, it doesn't know where it's sending it to. It will send it and you've lost your money. So £1,000,000, buy it, put the wrong address in, send it, you just lost £1,000,000. Make sure you got that address from Atomic to MoonPay correct. Little tip, send like 20 quid first, or £1 or something. Just do a really small amount. And then once you know it works and it lands in the right wallet and you've got it, then do a bigger amount. So yeah, little tip there not to lose all your money. And that's it. That's it, guys. And then on Atomic Wallet, it'll tell you the existing price. It tells you where it's been for the last day and the last week. And it's really cool just to track it and see how the price has got on. And who knows? Could become the new world currency, which would make it worth a lot of money. And that's how I think you and your family could become very, very wealthy. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to put a link to everything I've talked about in this video, Atomic Wallet, MoonPay, some of the other really good documentaries about Hedera Hashgraph and the blockchain. I'll put them all in the description. I don't get a penny if you click the link. I don't care. Click it, don't click it. I don't get anything for it. It's not an affiliate program. I'm literally just doing this for the likes and the shares, and so that I can pay it forward. And hopefully, if this does do anything like I think it's going to do, and by the way, I think it could go 600 times 600x, 100 times x at least, but it could go 600x. You know, I just want you to benefit from that too. And if you know anyone else that you want to do well and you want to see, you know, family members and stuff, and you're trying to explain to them, please share this video with them and show them and let them have a look and give it a like, because that's all I get out of it. I just get likes out of it, so that's what I'm in it for. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for watching.